Hello, hello, hello. It is C. Grace coming to you with another segment of Aging Gracefully. I am speaking on the topic tonight about gardening. I will discuss what contributed to my decision to start a garden, what things that I would recommend one evaluates before they decide if they want to garden. And I will address some of the myths associated with people starting the type of garden that I have decided on. So first off, let me tie how gardening ties into my overall topic of aging gracefully. To be able to age gracefully, you have to evaluate and consider not only your daily activity, but the intake and the substance that you place into your body. It has been proven that food is a primary contributor to ways in which a person age and how they show their age and their ability to perform and produce. So being concerned about the type of food and quality of food that I am eating definitely is a number one concern. So with that being said, I wanted to be able to control the quality of food that I was taking in. I had to figure out, okay, what's the best way to do that? Do I continue to go to farmers markets? Do I order food offline? And I've went through both of those. I've ordered food offline and I found it to be wasteful for the amount of food that I eat. I've gone to farmers markets, and based on research and some of the practices that I observed, I realized that everything that was presented at the farmers market was not necessarily grown locally as I was led to believe. So after doing some research, I concluded that the only way for me to be able to control the type of food that I was placing in my body was to consider growing it myself. That way I would know exactly what it is that I was planting and eating. And again, like most things, it would allow me to be challenged, which I am in that season in life. I love being challenged. I love learning new things and I love growing. And gardening definitely falls under that category. Never thought I would see myself as a gardener. So here I am. Gardening with grace is what I'm going to call it. So either way, I am excited. So some of the things that I have decided, I have spent some time researching. I'm quite the research person. So when I want to do something, the first thing I do is I go to my good friend Google and I find connections of people who have already completed what I am interested in. And that's where I start. So I went to Google and I started researching my options for gardening because I was pretty positive I was not going to be the person who was going to be out in the acreage of land with the plow and the hoe and I don't know what other tools they have, but that's not me. So I knew it was not going to be that. So I pretty much was safely betting that I was going to do a container garden. Now, the container gardens are normally associated with people who live in an apartment. I do not live in an apartment. I lived in an apartment for a year before I purchased my home after relocating here to Huntsville. So I am no longer in an apartment. I do live in a home. Normally, if you're living in a home, one would assume that you would want a garden that takes up the yard, things like that. No, I'm still not that person either. Some people would say that container gardens are not real gardens. Based on my research and what I see that they produce, they're very much so capable of producing the same type of produce that you would get from a garden that's in the ground. So I'm not second guessing that anymore. I do have a yard, but I'm not interested in using my yard to do the garden. So I am not interested at this time in doing trees or flower beds or anything like that. I am strictly focusing on planting seeds and seedlings into my containers to produce food. So the original question is, why would one take up container gardening? Well, one, as I stated, I am not interested in using my yard. With container gardens, you really don't need a yard because things are placed inside of a container. I don't necessarily even need outdoor space. You can do container gardens on a patio, a deck, or even a balcony, as long as your potted plants have access to decent light. The container garden can thrive. So that is something that I have to monitor and check and make sure I know the front part of my yard gets the sun. So I will be able to capitalize on that. And then in the evening time, the back part of my yard gets the sun. And then I also get the sun on the side of my house as well. Container gardens, some people think we need a lot of pots and fancy containers and things like that. It's not necessarily so. All you need to be able to do is have a means of controlling or compacting, it might be a better word, the soil, the gardening soil. It doesn't need to be matching pots. I may start off with matching pots, but I hope to expand beyond that. So a lot of people will look around their homes and they will find things within their homes, like maybe kitchen pots that they're no longer using. They will go to flea markets and get pots, and you can use old wooden crates. I saw research where people get pots and containers from Home Depot and Lowe's and put holes in the bottom of them. You can do that. Some people use dresser drawers. I saw, based on my research, some people even use kiddie pools. You could put the soil in the kiddie pools. So you really don't have to get hung up on making it perfect and ideal. Unfortunately, I actually even seen, based on my research, someone used a toilet that their landlord was getting rid of. They actually planted their garden in the toilet. Probably not going to be the route that I go, but that option is out there. Never say never. So the other thing, a third reason, okay, number one, don't necessarily need a yard. Number two, you don't have to have fancy pots or anything like that to have container gardens. So number three, I get a chance to control my soil. When you're doing the yard, you have to be at the mercy of whatever your ground is made of, or your yard is made of. In my case, or people's cases who are doing the container garden, I get a chance to go, based on research, and select the type of soil and what I want to add into my soil. So I get a chance to control the quality of the soil and if I want to use fertilizer or not. The other benefit is the chances of my soil that I use, the chances of it being preconditioned to diseases or something that's being rooted from the ground is limited, because I will be cautiously selecting the type of soil that I get. So based on my research, I am leaning toward the mushroom soil because it is not dependent on using fertilizer. I am really striving for creating vegetables that is as organic and non-chemical as possible. That is really my focus, is getting away from the chemicals that is put on our food. Although I may understand why they're using the chemicals, I prefer to limit the chemical intake in my body as much as possible. So I will get a chance to control that more by the type of soil that I use. Reason number 4 for leaning more toward the container garden is that I don't have to concern myself with weeding. I'm not interested in creating work for myself. And the thought of having to dig out weeds and be down on my knees and pulling out weeds or bending over, I'm just not that person. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, not sorry. So I am not interested in doing a lot of weeding. And with the store-bought soil, usually it is no weeding involved. Not saying it's 100% guaranteed. There's sometimes wind can blow particles around and things can land into your container garden, which can contribute to a weed here or there, probably sprouting and spreading type of thing. But the chances of that happening is limited, and I will be able to notice that right away and just pluck it out and cut that off. So that's another reason why I'm interested in doing a container garden. The reason number 5 for doing a container garden is that it will be mobile. My container garden will be mobile for the type that I got already. And that is important to me. Not that I am moving from one location to the other as far as moving from a house to another house right now, but if I did decide to do that, I could definitely move my container garden a whole lot easier and not have to worry about starting over. But I'm speaking something as simple as there are pots that you can put on wheels. You can move it from different areas, whether you want it in the garage or on the side of the house or the front of the house or whatever the case may be. The containers are a whole lot more easier to move about whether I'm moving it for light or protection from animals. I will have a means to have it mobile where I can move it. And that is important because, like I stated, as I noted in my particular home, my son hits my house at different times of the day, like most people's homes. And because my garden is not going to be spread out in the yard, it won't have access to the sunlight as it is available. So I will have to turn things around and move it about, and I'm okay with that. So having it mobile is an advantage. I'm looking forward to that. Another reason why I want to do the container garden, or another reason why it's important, based on my research, the container gardens don't require as much water as a conventional or a regular garden requires because of the scope of the land. So I definitely want to water, but because the pots are contained, I won't have to feel obligated to water as much. I will have to do my research and learn in that aspect, but I actually plan on getting or actually already have a container system that manages the water. And I will speak to the type of planters or container systems that I got based on my research that will help me with not overwatering, and it actually monitors and measures the water out as needed. So that was a big deal to me because it's just not my cup of tea to be out standing all afternoon watering. I'm not into work like that. But anyway, so I think I'm on number 7. Number 7, the reason why, oh yes, I remember. Number 7, one of the primary reasons why I wanted to do a container garden is I get a chance to grow things that I want to grow in the amounts that I want to grow them in. So in other words, I can grow my herbs and my tomatoes in one pot and then have my cabbage and carrots or something, they can share a pot. So I get a chance to set it up how I want to, and I can put more than one thing in a pot because right now it's just one of me. At some point, I may get to the point where I am growing in abundance, in an abundance where I'm going to a farmer's market, but that's not my ultimate goal right now. So I get a chance to control with the container garden, I get a chance to control how many plants I have in what little area. And if I want to grow things and combine them, I can do that. So I'm actually looking forward to that as well. I'm so excited. I see my first cucumber or something coming up. I don't know. I have to do a Facebook Live, but I'm actually excited about that. So number 8, I had mentioned earlier that you don't have to have any fancy pots or anything to do a container garden. But if for some reason that you are a person who's into ambiance or decorating or having a certain style or technique or something, you can actually get pots that complement your porch area and your outdoor area. You can get very decorative pots. I'm not that person necessarily, but you do have that option. So you can use your pots as an accessory to your outdoor decor or wherever you decide to put your containers. Number 9, the number one reason actually for me that this should really be number 1 is that it's an easy cleanup process with a container garden. It's an easy cleanup. Pots can be empty, cleaned. I can either decide to replant or not, taking out the soil and putting it in. It's a real easy process. I don't have to have a lot of tools and equipment and muscles and strength and all that. That is important to me. I want to do this and I want it to be fun. When it becomes laborious or like a job, probably not going to want to hang in there too long. So I am looking forward to reason number 9, which is an easy cleanup. Okay, and let me see, what else do I have going here? The 10th reason, I'm trying to remember. Oh, the 10th reason is that I don't have to do a lot of bending over. And that means my back will thank me. I don't have any reasons to get on my knees because I'm going to place my containers in a way that won't warrant all that. So my back is not going to be hurting from that, and my knees are not going to be hurting. I can elevate the planters as I need to, or put them in a position that is comfortable for me because I am short and I'm okay with that. I'm sorry, I am height challenged and I'm okay with that. So I'm not going to make it difficult for myself. I'm going to keep it quite easy. So I'm going to limit the need to have to bend down. I do not plan on getting on my knees. I'm not going to do a lot of digging and pruning and all that stuff. So my list of tools and everything that I will need is going to be very limited. So again, these are the reasons. And a quick recap. Why I decided to do a container garden is because, again, I am focused on aging gracefully, and the food that I take in is a big contributor to my ability to age gracefully. Reason number 1 that I'm going with a container garden is that although I have a yard, I don't want to use my yard for gardening. I don't need anything big and make a statement. Number 2, I don't necessarily have to have ideal pots and pans to have a container garden. I can be creative in my pots and my containers. Number 3, I get a chance to control the soil, and that's important to me. 4, there's rarely any need to do weeding and a lot of labor with my garden. I can move my garden if I need to. When it's a container garden, I can move it about. And that is important because at some point, I'm going to need to figure out how to keep the animals away from it. So being able to move it into my garage is a big deal. So I won't repeat. What was number 5? Because the number 5 is make it immobile. Number 6 is it doesn't take as much water as I initially thought that it did based on my research. So I'm happy about that. Number 7, I get a chance to plant many things in one pot, and I can plant the things that I want. You can do that with an outdoor garden too, but you most of the time you have to plant a whole lot of something, and I don't need to do that. I can also use my pots when I get into it. I can use them as a means to decorate my outdoor area, and again, that will come with time. The cleanup is really easy breezy with container gardens. So that is something that's important to me because, like I say, I'm not trying to make it a project of labor of love. I'm not interested in that. And lastly, with container gardens, I don't have to worry about being on my knees and doing a lot of bending and making my body uncomfortable. So those are the main reasons why I decided to go with a container garden. I have spent a couple of weeks on researching the type of containers that I am going to use. I'm very happy. I decided to go with, I will say this now and I will do a full review on it, but I decided to go on the green stalk. That is the type of pots or containers that I am going to use. And I based my decision, there was a couple of things that was involved. Of course, cost is always a big deal. So cost, but also the watering system, as well as the reviews of other people who have used it. What makes my experience of gardening a little different than most of the other YouTube videos or content providers that I have seen is most of the people who are talking about gardening are people who have gardened before. My experience is I have never gardened before, never thought that I wanted to garden, and here I am getting ready to start it. So everything that I am sharing with you, it is truly coming from a person who did not know and still don't know to what skill level I will be able to garden. So I am not speaking to those people who have a love for garden, who have done it forever. I am actually speaking to those people who are interested in taking control of their food choices, and they're willing to learn how, perhaps at a late age, on how to garden. So that is my story. That is why I'm here. I am doing, again, the container garden. I have zero experience on gardening whatsoever. The gist of my experience on gardening at this point has been based solely on what I have researched, and I am going to document from day one to the end. And I'm excited. I thank you for joining me. I hope that you will join me in this experience, and hopefully we can start exchanging notes on things that you may be learning. Please give me some feedback on the tips on how I am helping you with your decision and your experience with gardening, or your feedback. But again, all this is tied into aging gracefully, and I look forward to connecting with you soon. In the meantime, please like and share and comment. Continue to live your truth and protect your peace. Much respect.